Welcome to Around the Weird. Here's your host, the museum curator of the strange and unusual, Mr. Nothing.
Thank you, mysterious voice, and welcome back to Around the Weird, a booktube channel where I talk about all the unusual and out of the ordinary literature that I have found in my travels. Today, it is, I believe it's February the 7th. I realize that I have not yet made a TBR or a wrap-up video for January. Been a little busy with work and such, so I've been I haven't had time to make one. But I wrote it out, like I planned it and everything. So I feel like I'm a bit behind with videos at the moment, but it's no big deal. At the moment, at least, I've still been reading, which has been quite fun. Except unless the book that I've been reading, has been Meg Cabot's work, in which case it's not quite as good. But anyways, let's talk about what I read in January and what I plan to read in February, or have been reading at least. So I'll do a wrap-up video, and then a TBR, and we will move on from there. So what did I read in January? One of the first books that I read was In Dubious Battle. I thought that was great, by John Steinbeck, of course. I really enjoyed the story about Jim Nolan as he works to create a union for oppressed farm workers in California. It's Steinbeck's specialty to write about that kind of thing. So I really enjoyed his work there. But I also felt that it was really prescient to the current moment we're in. You have right now we have a whole bunch of corporations trying to stifle workers' rights. You got Uber, you got DoorDash, you got Amazon, you got Walmart, all trying to hinder workers' rights out there. And here's Steinbeck with something that carries through to the present moment. I think that's more along the lines of in a capitalist society, the owners, the corporate leaders, will always try to take as much as they can from the workers. So I felt that was very relevant today. And then the whole speech that one of the characters gives in Dubious Battle about how there's this specific group of people who are only there for the hate. They don't have any vested interest in keeping workers down, but they still show up to assist the corporations because to him the cruelty is the point. And I feel like there's a lot of those people right now. To Kyle Rittenhouse, the Black Lives Matter movement wouldn't have mattered. But he still showed up when the politicians called for him to show up so that they could keep black people in their place by shooting people who were protesting. You have a whole group of those people, the Nazis and the Proud Boys and all kinds of domestic terrorist groups, and I'm just surprised that Steinbeck was able to capture that in the early 1900s. There were probably those groups that existed around that time too, but it's still a surprise to see that that was there back then as well. I also read It Then Became to the End by Joshua Ferris. I thought it was a lot of fun seeing the ennui in the workplace. My only problem was I wish it would have focused on maybe one or two characters rather than an entire office, as I don't think that any one character had enough time to shine without feeling like an archetype or something like that. But maybe that was Joshua Ferris's goal in the matter. Still a fun book to read and one that I recommend to you all out there. I also read Fables and Reflections and Brief Lives, books 6 and 7 in the Sandman series. Both of them were pretty great. I loved Fables and Reflections for the short story format. I feel that's where Neil Gaiman thrives. And I really enjoyed Brief Lives because the big topic, the big point of that story was family, how you have to let them move on. And it also dealt with the fact that King Dream, he's not a very good father. And maybe, that doesn't bode well for the new son that he has now. A lot to think about regarding the future of that series. I'll make it to book 8, I think it is. I don't remember what book it was. I believe it is World's End is the next one. Looking forward to reading that. I think there's a bunch of other books in the series, so I'll have to find more there. But yeah, I've been having a fun time with this series. I've also read The Graveyard Book, which was also by Neil Gaiman. Unfortunately, I did not enjoy that. I felt that was some of Gaiman's worst work. Whereas in the Sandman series, you have complex characters and an interesting story for the most part, and beautiful art. The Graveyard Book has none of that. Given there isn't much art in the book at all, it's not really a comic book. But I stand by my claim. I didn't really care much about Nobody Owens or whatever struggle he was going through. So it seems like a weird misstep on Gaiman's part, especially because everything else he's written that I've checked out has been high quality. So I don't know what the problem is with the book. Maybe it's just the idea it sounds great, like on paper, but when you write it out, and read it kind of falls on its face. So unfortunately, not all of them can be winners from Neil Gaiman. I also read The End of Everything Astrophysically Speaking by Dr. Katie Mack. That was nonfiction, and it was quite fun. I enjoyed learning about the different ways the universe could end, and I also liked how Katie Mack presented it in a accessible format for the non-scientific readership out there. Because this is a lot of she presented a lot of complex ideas, and that like they deal heavily with science, and she still made it come through for me at least, who didn't really have a background in physics or quantum biology or whatever it is. I definitely recommend that if you're looking for some nonfiction in your life. I also read Batman and Robin Reborn by Grant Morrison. I really enjoyed it, especially the second story that came with it about the Red Hood and him trying to take over Gotham in Batman's absence. My problem with it is that it tried to jump over the hurdle of Batman and Robin's new relationship, because Batman was now played by Dick Grayson due to the fact that Batman had died in the Final Crisis saga. So I really enjoyed it, but they wanted to repair the relationship too fast, and there was the whole issue of bringing Batman back as fast as possible and not just sitting with the fact that he's dead. What do you do next? Like Batman was brought back just in time for the Flashpoint paradox and to be rebooted again. So kind of weird storytelling on DC's part there. I ended up not talking about it because I didn't have enough to say, but here I am saying it here. So there's that. I also read The Killing Joke by Alan Moore, a really great comic, and I can see why it's a fan favorite and one of the designated as probably one of the best comics ever written. A lot to think about in terms of Batman and Joker's relationship, and whether or not Batman should probably kill the Joker. I definitely recommend that one if you have a limited time for comics. Probably check out The Killing Joke. It's worth your time. I also read a number of short stories. I also read Man in the Dark by Paul Auster. I didn't have enough to say about it. It's very boring. I didn't understand what Paul Auster was trying to do. It has a number of great ideas, such as a man going through his life as he deals with insomnia, and also him creating a fictional alternate reality where 9/11 never happened. And I would love to explore those ideas in more depth, but Paul Auster doesn't do it in a meaningful way in this story. So, Man in the Dark is not that good. Again, I read a number of short stories. The Celebrated Jumping Frog of Calaveras County, which was good, one of Mark Twain's first short stories. So, worth checking out for that bit of history and trivia, I guess. Thank You Ma'am by Langston Hughes, which I think was the best short story that I read in January. Great about the power of kindness, really worth reading. A Jury of Her Peers by Susan Glaspell, also a quality short story, one that touched upon, feminist ideas. Like, do you have loyalty to the law or loyalty to your fellow woman, knowing that she was probably mentally abused in a relationship, and that's why she killed her husband. So a lot of guilt going on there. Pretty wonderful short story. I didn't expect it to stick with me as much as it did. And then I also read The Sniper by Liam O'Flaherty. Pretty good short story. Probably the weakest just because it really seems going just towards the end. Like the ending is the most important part and the rest of the short story doesn't seem to matter because the ending is, the sniper found out that his brother, he killed his brother by accident. War is hell. And so the story doesn't really stand without that ending. And so, not my favorite for the month, but still pretty fun to read. And then I read a number of poems. You can find them in my Poetry Thursday video. But now we move on to the February TBR. What have I read or will read in February? Well, let's talk about the books first. One of the books that I've already read and gotten out of the way is Princess on the Brink. I'll talk about that in a couple days here. I think it's the 8th book in the Princess Diaries series. I have a lot to say about it, so I'll save that until I get to it. I also want to read The Wizard of Earthsea, which I think I'll read next, by Ursula Le Guin. I've been really interested in checking out Ursula's longer format work, so that should be a lot of fun. I also want to get to the next installment of the Sandman series, and I also want to read Nightfall, the comic where Bane breaks the bat. It should be a lot of fun, and explore other comics as well. I do want to get around to Shakespeare this month, so I'm interested in checking out The Taming of the Shrew, because that's just a random Shakespeare play. I'm hoping it'll be pretty quality, much like A Comedy of Errors was. And then some books that I find in my local library. We'll see what I manage to pick out there. I also have a number of short stories planned for the month of February. On this coming Tuesday, I'll be talking about Philip K. Dick's The Adjustment Team. I'll also talk about Bret Hart and Dorothy Parker. That should be a lot of fun too. And then there are a number of poems that I want to check out for this month. So we'll see how that goes as well. And that's basically what I have planned for February. It's a short month. I might read more. I might read something else that I haven't mentioned here. But be on the lookout for that, as it's always fun to talk about books and share my thoughts with you all, so you can share your thoughts with me. If you have something to recommend or you want to comment on what I have read or will read, be sure to do that below in the comments. I would love to hear from you. We can have a discussion. Otherwise, don't forget to like, share, or subscribe so that other people can find out about this cool channel. In the meantime, I wish you the best of luck in your weird and romantic travels as it is February. Farewell.